Yeah, it's just too. I can't be under stress before I take class. I'm trying to play with something. If they don't, they don't. Santosh is probably in the kitchen. I just saw him. Maybe he's in the kitchen. No, whatever. Yeah. Jayara Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jayara Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Oh, there's Maha. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivadit Hari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivadit Hari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivadit Hari. Yasodanandana Prashajanaranja. Yasodanandana Prashajanaranja. Yamuna Tira Panachari. Yamuna Tira Panachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivadit Hari. Jana Balaba Girivadit Hari. Yasodanandana Prashajanaranja. Yasodanandana Prashajanaranja. Yamuna Tira Panachari. Yamuna Tira Panachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shirade Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jayam Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Papakacharya Sotara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sudas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Namakundara Kungiri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Mridamana Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai Yamuna Maya Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Shrimati Kalasa Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the Sema devotees. All glories to the Sema devotees. All glories to the Sema devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today, we are most fortunate because we are continuing with our study of the Srimad Gita. This is the Song of the Bee. And we have been reading the verses, which are what's called Prajalpa, where Srimati Radharani is speaking to the bee and trying to chastise the bee as being the messenger from Krishna. I can use the light, yeah. I guess I'll just stay sitting. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, and it is chapter 47, verse 16. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vrishcha Shirasi Padam Vidami Aham Chatu Karir Ananya Vidushus Te Vayacha Dautir Mukunda Swakrita Iha Vishjapatya Pati Anya Loka Vishajat Akrit Cheta Kim Nu Sandayam Asmin. So yesterday, when I was looking for verse classes on this verse, I found one, and I just wanted to play the Sanskrit for it because the Sanskrit, my Sanskrit is not exactly the best. So this is very beautiful, and the Sanskrit's beautiful, so I just wanted to play it. This is Bhakti Rasamrita Swami.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashta prayeshva bhadreshu.
Let's skip a little bit of front.
Svakrita iha visrishta patyanya loka vyasrijat akrita chetaha kim nu sandheyamasmin visrija shirasi padam vedmyaham chatukare Anunaya vidushaste bhyetya dautyer mukundat Svakrita iha visrishta patyanya loka Vyasrijat akrita chetaha kim nu sandheyamasmin Visrija shirasi padam vedmyaham chatukare Anunaya vidushaste bhyetya dautyer mukundat Svakrita iha visrishta patyanya loka Vyasrijat akrita chetaha kim nu sandheyamasmin.
We'll just listen one more time.
Visrija pashirasi padam vedmyaham chatukare Anunaya vidushaste bhyetya dautyer mukundat Svakrita iha visrishta patyanya loka Vyasrijat akrita chetaha kim nu sandheyamas.
So we could see there's a very beautiful meter to it, because this is Pramara Gita, and it is a song. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually a song. So when the Sanskrit is done properly, it's actually a song. So rather than stumble through it, I thought it would be nice to play that so everyone can hear the meter of it. So, would anyone like to recite it, or should we go on to the word for word? Vishja, let go. Shirasi, held on your head. Padam, my foot. Vedmi, no. I. Chaturkarai, with flattering words. Anunya, in the art of conciliation. Vidasa, who are expert. Te, of you. Abhyatu, having learned. Dotai, by acting as a messenger. Mukunda, from Krishna. Swa, for his own. Krite, sake. Iha, in this life. Vrishta, who have abandoned. Apja, children. Pati, husbands. Anyaloka, and everyone else. Vrishajat, he abandoned. Akritatetaha, ungrateful. Kim Nu, why indeed? Sandayam, should I make reconciliation? Asmin, with him. Translation by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Can you get me some water, please? Keep your head off my feet. I know what you're doing. You expertly learned diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those for his sake. He abandoned those who, for his sake alone, gave up their children, husbands, and all other relations. He's simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? You can repeat, keep your head off my feet. I know what you're doing. You expertly learned diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who for his sake alone gave up their children, husbands, and all other relations. He's simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? So this is Srimati Radharani speaking in madness to the bee. This is Brahmara Gita, and this is another form of the known as Sanjalpa. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this verse illustrates the qualities of Sanjalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the following verse of Ujjala Nilamani. Saluntaya Gayanaya Kapa Kahishamudraya Tashakrita Chanta Uti Sanjalpa Katito Buddhahi. The learned describe Sanjalpa as that speech which decries with deep irony and insulting gestures the beloved's ungratefulness and so on. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out the word adi and so on implies a perception in one's lover of hard-heartedness, of an inimical attitude, and complete lack of love. Before I continue reading, you might ask, well, how does Rupa Goswami know all these things? How does he know what took place? He knows because in his deep trance, in his deep meditation, all these things are revealed to him within the heart. It's not something he imagines or he speculates or he tries to, think about. It's revealed to him in his heart. And how is it revealed to him? Because who is Rupa Goswami? Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, very close maidservant to Srimati Radharani. So Rupa Manjari has witnessed so many things that have taken place, and in the form of Rupa Goswami has systematically, elaborately given us an insight into this love of Radha and Krishna. So we'll continue. So the next commentary I'm going to read is by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It says 10:47:16, and I always really appreciate his commentaries because he always brings in a dialogue. Like you've seen it like in the Radha Kund, Shama Kund pastime. He always creates a dialogue of Radha and Krishna going back and forth. So he also is given that vision that came through the trance of his samadhi. While the bee was flying around, plus he has heard, the whole point too is disciplic succession. He has heard through disciplic succession, he's heard through his preceptors, and that way he's able to elaborate. And also the other day, Krishna Maharaj was saying how it's by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and his example that we can enter into an understanding, not an understanding, but to enter into this. So also we know that Rupa Goswami was empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us this knowledge. He was empowered within his heart by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none different than Radha and Krishna, experiencing all these emotions, and Rupa Goswami was able to broadcast those emotions. So Rup Damodar was right there with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Gambhira and Ramananda Roy, and those things were repeated to Raghunath Das Goswami, and then they were repeated. So everything is coming into civic succession. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he is further bringing out the sweetness. Okay. While the bee was flying around, it landed on Radha's foot. Out of greed for her fragrance and still buzzing, seemed to say, "Bzzz. O lady, worshipable by millions of Lakshmis, truly Krishna has made offense to you. I say you should forgive him." Thinking that the bee was offering her his respect, she said, "Why are you touching your head to my foot? Please go away. I know you cannot cheat me like your cheat Lakshmi and others." So he's saying, go away. She's saying, you're not going to cheat me. I know you cheat Lakshmi and others. You have got lessons from Mukunda. He is very skillful at humble entreaties, sending messages with sweet words. You have learned it all from him. I know your character. I know you. So Radharani is chastising the bee. And meanwhile, if we get back to the beginning of this chapter, we'll understand that Uddhava, who has come as a messenger from Krishna, is witnessing all this. He's witnessing this and he's hearing this, and he's just, his eyes are wide open. He's like in amazement. He's never seen this kind of high prema, this kind of high love ever. "O mistress, what is the use of fighting with him who is more dear to you than in millions of lives? Rather, you should make peace with him through me." So Radha's in feeling this is, this bee's a messenger. This messengers tell me to make peace. For his sake, we gave up our children, husbands, mothers, and fathers, and he gave us up and left. The gopis who were prevented from going to the rasa dance gave up their children and went to meet him. We gave up our husbands. The unmarried girls gave up their mothers and fathers. He who was ungrateful, Akritya Chetasa, gave up all these women. Should one make peace with such a cruel-hearted person? No, never. So Srimati Radharani, she's saying, we gave up everything. The other Gita is the Venu Gita. Krishna played his flute. And when he played his flute, the gopis heard it. And he called everyone's name, and especially Radha's. And then they became mad. They were just very chaste, young, innocent girls. And they left home. And they ran into the darkness of the forest. And they're saying, we did all this for you. And now, what have you done? You're so ungrateful. We know when Krishna first called the gopis and they went out, and then he says, Swagatam, welcome. How have you come here? What are you doing here in the forest? And he was trying to send them back home to test their love. And they were like, no, Krishna, you called us here. We're going to stay here. So we have to always understand that this is the pleasure potency of Krishna. This is not ordinary relationships of illicit life between men and women. And just like there are those who will hear this and they'll think it's just fairy tale. They have no interest. And others that will hear this and they try to understand it through logic and reason. It's impossible. And others who will hear this and take it cheaply and try to imitate. So Prabhupada has taught us how to, avoid all of those pitfalls. So we have to hear through the association of bona fide spiritual master. And we have to practice devotional service in practice. It's a sadhana practice. So it's explained. First there's this state, Shraddha, we hear. We become attracted, we hear. And then we begin the practice, Vaishnava Kriya. And then we start removing the anarthas from the heart. Then when the heart is free of the anarthas, the nishta arises. And from nishta comes ruchi, a taste. So there's a process to get here. Because we read about in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam this Bhagavatam, it is the cream of of everything. It is the highest knowledge. It's the highest knowledge possible, but it's meant for liberated Bahuka, Rasika devotees. So it's like, we think, well, I'm very far from being a Rasika devotee. But we hear, and by that hearing, the heart becomes attracted. Just like the gopis, they become attracted to the sound of Krishna's flute. So the hearing of the Bhagavatam is like the hearing of the flute. And Lord Chaitanya himself is giving us the process of how to attain this highest love through the Shashastika prayers. Because the Shashastika prayer starts with Cheto Darpana Marjanam, the chanting of the holy name, the Sankirtan movement. And that begins to cleanse the dust on the heart. And then naturally one has no interest in those things of this material world. Not that they ignore the things of the material world, but they see how everything in this world is meant to be used for Krishna's pleasure. Everything is meant to give happiness to Krishna. And then the Trinata Pisanechanot, that one has to become more humble than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to give respects to others. So step by step, Lord Chaitanya is taking us to the point where Radharani is like, I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall be so. Even he handles me brokenhearted by not being present before me. And a moment's separation, it seems like lifetimes and lifetimes. So this is Chaitanya's teaching us, and that's what this is all about, It's that Radharani's saying, you called us, we left everything, and now you've just left us here with nothing. I'm not going to hear anything about this. Go back to your master. So we see here that it's set in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the earlier cantos, when Krishna disappeared from the rasa dance, and he went and he hid. He was there, he was watching, and they were looking everywhere. First he took Radharani with her, then he left Radharani. Some say that he left Radharani because she was feeling proud, said, oh, Krishna, please carry me. But also there was another deeper meaning, an esoteric meaning, that Radharani also didn't want her friends to feel hurt, that she was alone with Krishna. And also, Krishna didn't want that there should be envy towards Radharani in so many different moods. So he left, and then when they found Radharani, everybody could see how deep was her love, and then they all became one in mentality. But during the Gopi Gita, when they're looking for Krishna, and they're crying for Krishna, and that crying Krishna returns, but at that time they were thinking, we left everything for you. Husbands, wives, family. And then Krishna ultimately, he says, how can I ever repay you? The only thing I can give you is your love, your devotion. Just like sometimes people think, well, I'll get paid for doing devotional service. I'll get paid for offering arati. But the real payment is pure love that arises within the heart. That's the real payment. So here we see that she's saying, oh, Krishna, has sent you, and he's done this before. But this time, the madness is so great because she knows Krishna's not hiding in the bush. Akura came and took him. And now he's got the dharma that he has to perform. He has to rid the earth of unwanted demons. And meanwhile, Krishna, as we read earlier, Krishna's crying. That's why he sent Mathura. That's why he sent Uddhava. Krishna's in Mathura and he's crying. How can I live without Radha? How can I live without my mother and my father and the residents of Vrindavan? But I can't go back. If I go back, then these other armies, Jarasandha, like my Guru Maharaj was saying the other day, that Kamsa was like a small figure in the Mahabharata. We know so much about him because he was one that wanted to kill Krishna. But Jarasandha was very, very powerful. And there were all these other kings that were very, very powerful. So Krishna couldn't leave. He just couldn't go. But his heart was actually breaking. And there's times when we saw in the Srimad Bhagavatam when Radha disappeared And Krishna was searching everywhere for her. And he finally went to Purnamasmi, what could I do? And she said, chant the Radha mantra. And so he sat down at Imli Tala, and he was chanting Radha, Radha, Radha. So it's actually at Imli Tala, that tree there, that Krishna first manifested that mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna crying out for Radha. So in the different pastimes in the 10th canto, we see where Krishna was begging Radharani, please forgive me, and Radharani would be in man. She'd be very angry, be in man. And everyone would try to appease her. First, her friend Lalita Saki, she would encourage her, no, just be strong, And she would send him away. Go away, Krishna. Go away, Krishna. So this is Vrindavan. Vrindavan is crooked. Krishna is bent in 3 ways, and Vrindavan, one word means one thing and another word means another thing. And there's bantering. So even here, this mood that Radharani is having back and forth with the bee, this is also the mood that was there with Krishna sometimes. How could you have done this, And then Krishna's praying, please forgive me. But in this case, it's very heart-moving. It's very, very painful because Radharani is she's only living because if she doesn't live, that'll cause more misery to Krishna. So she's only living for Krishna's pleasure. But we cannot even understand what the separation is. And then at the same time, they're never separated because Radha is the pleasure potency of Krishna, the Ladini Shakti of Krishna. So these things are inconceivable, completely inconceivable. But at the same time, by hearing about them, we become purified if we hear through the proper source, under proper guidance. Sometimes we'll think, well, I can't hear about these things. I'm not on that level. But you have to hear. Just like I can tell you, you're going on a trip and it's very far away. And you think, oh, I'm not going to set my GPS because California is so far away. So then I'll maybe go here and there. I'll look here and there and eventually end up in California. No, you're not going to. You might just keep going around in circles and keep coming back to Hillsborough. So if you're going to go and you want to go to California, you set your GPS, even though it's very far away. And along the way, the GPS will tell you, detour, take this way, go this way, traffic jam. So in our devotional service, there'll be times there'll be detours, there'll be, traffic jams in our mind. There'll be, recalculate, but the Guru is there to guide us. That's the point to understand that Krishna is so kind that he comes in the form of Guru. And it is through the instructions of the spiritual master, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, that they can guide us on this path. So we are so fortunate because we are coming in the line of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And this is a specialty of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Now we're coming to Janmashtami. Many people will come to the temple. Many people will worship Krishna, especially a lot from Gujarat, Bala Krishna, baby Krishna. But it is only through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, which began through Madhavendra Puri, that we understand about the intensity of the love of Radha and Krishna, and we learn about Srimati Radharani. So we read one more by Jiva Goswami. Other women may not know, but I know, since I am perceptive, I know that you have learned from Krishna the art of conciliation and messages using clever words. He is Mukunda, the liberator, making us all give up our houses, possessions, and families. This indicates his deception and cruelty. So this is his Sanjalpa. She's just insulting Krishna. Since you are his messenger, you are most deceitful as well. Thus you also cannot be trusted. Or thinking that her foot is a lotus, the bee approaches her foot and softly hums. Seeing the bee, she thinks the bee is saying, "O lady, do not be angry. Be merciful and just once hear my request." She then speaks this verse with sarcasm. "I know the character of you and Mukunda. Therefore give up my feet along with your extraordinary flattering words." Give up flattering words on my feet. Those flattering words are messages learned from Mukunda, expert at conciliation. O lady, why fight with your lover? Forgive his one offense. Create peace using me. He has rejected those who have given up their house, children, husbands, the happiness of this life and the next and others, all for his sake. So Radharani, she's not just speaking about herself. She's concerned for all the other gopis, mother and father, everyone. He is ungrateful, or he has not given his heart to us. Akritacheta. He is concerned only with himself, or he gave us up for his own purpose. Swakritaha, rejecting us. He attracted husbands, children, and others, and then gave them up also. Should we make peace with a cheater? Of course we should not. So these are the verses that was explained. There's the 10 different symptoms of this prajalpa, this madness, this highest love. So we can't understand, how could this be high love? But that's why we have to just hear. So I'm going to read a little bit quickly from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Talks with Ramananda Roy, chapter 8. I'm going to start with verse 158. Lord Krishna tastes all kinds of transcendental happiness, although he himself is happiness personified. The pleasure relished by his pure devotees is also manifested by his pleasure potency. The most essential part of this pleasure potency is of love of Godhead, prema. Consequently, the explanation of love of Godhead is also a transcendental mellow full of pleasure. The essential part of love of Godhead is called Mahabhava, transcendental ecstasy, and that ecstasy is represented by Srimati Radharani. That's ecstasy is Mahabhava. Only Radharani has that to that degree. Among the gopis of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani and another gopi are considered chief. But when we compare the gopis, it appears that Srimati Radharani is most important because her real feature expresses the highest ecstasy of love. The ecstasy of love experienced by the other gopis cannot be compared to that of Srimati Radharani. The body of Srimati Radharani is a veritable transformation of love of Godhead. She is a dearmost friend of Krishna, and this is known throughout the world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure and who embodies the ecstatic potency, Ladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form and who are imbued and permeated with ever-blissful spiritual rasa. So this is from the Brahma Samhita, 537. That supreme ecstasy of Srimati Radharani is the essence of spiritual life. Her only business is to fulfill all the desires of Krishna. Srimati Radharani is the topmost spiritual gem, and the other gopis, Lalita, Vishaka, and so on, are expansions of her spiritual body. Srimati Radharani's transcendental body is brilliant in luster and full of all transcendental fragrances. Lord Krishna's affection for her is like a perfumed message. Srimati Radharani takes her first bath in the shower of the nectar of compassion, and she takes her second bath in the nectar of youth. After a midday bath, Radharani takes another bath in the nectar of bodily luster, and she puts on the garment of shyness, which is her black silk sari. Srimati Radharani's affection for Krishna is her upper garment, which is pinkish in color. She then covers her breasts with another garment composed of affection and anger towards Krishna. So the anger is there. Srimati Radharani's personal beauty is a reddish powder known as kumkum. Her affection for her associates is sandalwood pulp, and the sweetness of her smile is camphor. All these combined together are smeared over her body. Conjugal love for Krishna is an abundance of musk, and with that musk her whole body is decorated. Craftiness and covered anger constitute the arrangement of her hair. The quality of anger due to jealousy is a silk garment covering her body. Her attachment for Krishna is a reddish color of betel nuts on her brilliant lips. Her double dealing in loving affairs constitutes a black ointment around her eyes. The ornaments decorating her body are the blazing ecstasies of goodness and the constantly existing ecstasies headed by jubilation. All these ecstasies are the ornaments all over her body. Also ornamenting her body are the very 20 kinds of ecstatic symptoms, beginning with Kila Kinchita. Her transcendental qualities constitute the flower garland hanging in fullness over her body. So there's so much to say, but class is running out, so I just wanted to give a little insight into this. So we are in the Brahmara Gita. There are many Gitas within the Srimad Bhagavatam and within the 10th canto in relationship to Krishna. We had the Venu Gita, when the gopis heard the sound of the flute, the Pranaya Gita, when the gopis were with Krishna, the Yugala Gita, when Krishna is out during the day, and the Gopi Gita, when the gopis were praying for Krishna to come back, and now the Brahmara Gita, when Radharani in her madness is chastising the bee. So this is just a little insight into the deepness of our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition and the deepness of this highest love, this Mahabhav. And it is explained by the Acharyas that Radharani has a particular quality that those that are near her, those that are close with her, not conditioned souls like myself who are full of mundane attachments and emotions, but those pure souls, her Sakis, the Manjaris, those that are close to her, when she feels an emotion, they all feel it. When she feels happiness, they feel it. And so when Radharani is experiencing these emotions, all of Vrindavan is experiencing them. The cows, the trees, because her effulgence spreads out everywhere. So this ecstatic love of Srimati Radharani, on one hand, we know it's the highest ecstasy, and the other hand, it's hard to hear. We don't want to see Radha and Krishna separated. We always want to bring them together. You know, that's chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We always want to bring them together. Like I was so happy when Gandharva Girihara on the swing. Let them be on the swing. You know, let them be enjoying pastime together. But these pastimes are meant to really deepen that love, deepen that affection. And it's interesting, too, because we could see our own reaction to it. I was thinking, I'm very mundane. My reactions are very mundane. But when Radharani is chastising Krishna to the bee, I'm like, yes, he deserves it. He deserves it. You know, good. I'm glad you're saying these things, you know. Someone in a different mood might be, how can you say this to my Krishna? I'm like, say it. It's all right, you know. So these pastimes can stir within our heart the desire to be able to render devotional service and just gratitude to Srila Prabhupada that somehow or other he came to the West and somehow or other he was bold enough to bring this knowledge to those of us that were very fallen. Vanchakalpa chubasta kripa sindhu vyavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Shrimati Radharani ki jai. Radha Golokananda ki jai.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Mainam Kanvandam Maravindadalayataksham Bharavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Bajahure mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Bajahure mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Bajahure mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Jahure mana Shinandanandana Avaya charana ravindare Durlava manava janama satsange Durlava manava jana satsange Durlava manava janama satsange Durlava manava jana satsange Zaru e baba sindure Zaru e baba sindure Sita hata pavata varishana Edina jamini jagire 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 Vipale se vinu kripana durajana 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 Chapala sukala valagire Chapala sukala valagire Edana yovana putra parijana Ite kia che parati tire Edana yovana putra parijana Ite che parati tire Edana yovana putra parijana Ite kia che parati tire Edana yovana putra parijana Ite kia che parati Kamala dala jala jivana talamala 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 Bajahu haripada nichire Bajahu haripada nichire Shavana kirtana smarana vandana Pada sevana dasyare Shavana kirtana smarana vandana Pada sevana dasyare Shravana kirtana smarana vandana Pada sevana dasyare Shravana kirtana smarana vandana Pada sevana dasyare Pujana sakijana vadmani vedana Pujana sakijana vadmani vedana Pujana sakijana vadmani vedana Pujana sakijana vadmani vedana Govinda dasa vilasare Govinda dasa vilasare Bajahure mana Shinandanandana Avaya Charanara-vindare Vajahure Mana Shinandanandana Avaya Charanara-vindare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda, Radha Goloka Nanda, Radhe Radha Goloka Nanda, Radha Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda, Radha Goloka Nanda, Radhe Radha Goloka Nanda, Radha Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Giri Govardhan, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Oh my, just worship lotus feet of the Son of Nanda. Fearless, having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldliness by associating with saintly persons. Day and night remain sleepless, suffering heat, cold, wind and rain. For a bit of flickering happiness, I have vainly considered wicked and miserly men. What assurance of real happiness is there in all wealth, youth, and sons and relatives? This life comes like a drop of water on the lotus bed. Therefore, you should always worship the lotus feet of Lord Hari. Govinda no, to hear the glories of Lord Hari, chant the Lord, constantly remember Him, all your prayers, serve your lotus feet, become His servant, worship Him, offer your prayers, serve your lotus feet, become His servant, worship Him, serve Him, answer His prayers, be completed offering His praise. Jai. snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Akari Bahudani Jasarva Shaktis Tatrarpitani Amita Smaranena Kala Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Ramapi Durdaiva Midrisha Mihajani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Turodapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitamba Jagarisha Kame Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoitaki Trai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitamam Vishame Bhavam Budao Kripaya Tava Parapankaja Stiti Dviri Sadvisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galada Shudaraya Vadanam Gadgada Rudaya Gira Pulakaya Nichitam Bapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yuga Yitam Namishena Chakshusha Pravishayatam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Ashlishyava Padaratam Punashtamam Adarshanan Marmahatam Korotuva Yatatadava Vilam Matprananatas Sevanaparaha. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet, somehow or other, I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy